evening, everyone. Welcome to the Town Council regular scheduled meeting, March the 20th, 2014. Roll call, please.
Bennett present.
Gonzalez here.
Sullivan present. Bannon present.
Gavel present. Wendell present.
We've established the quorum. Please stand for the invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Let us call to mind that God is in our presence. Eternal God, you are a loving Father and a gentle Mother. Hold us in the arms of your forgiveness and grace. When we run from you or abandon your guiding light, welcome us back with mercy. When you squander your gifts or reject generosity, love us into right living. When we hide from our shame or mask our guilt, coax us into the light of your abundant love. Hear our prayers, guide this council with justice and concern, bless our town, bless our citizens, and may our town be a place of hope and joy. We ask this in your honor and glory. Amen. It's a Jewish prayer.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, we would like to recognize our visitors and their presentations, and the first one is from the Cape Charles Volunteer Fire Company, Jay Bell. Good evening.
Madam Mayor, members of council.
How are you?
I'm fine, yourself?
Good, thank you.
Let's say know most of y'all, for those who don't know me, my name is Jay Bell, Chief of Cape Charles Volunteer Fire Company. I'd like to start off with thanking the town for the money we've received for which we're working on this fiscal year, a little over $18,000. I don't believe in beating around the bush. We asked to have that increased to $25,000 for the upcoming year. That it would be the same matching amount that we received from the county yearly. Give you real quick, last year we had done to show how we spent the money. We replaced the rear tires on both of our engines. The tires cost right around $450 a piece. We had to replace 10 tires and rims on our tanker. The reason we had to replace the rims, the old system, the tires are obsolete, so we had to change over to a new modern sized tire. Like I say, that ran right around $7,800. We also replaced the front tires on the ladder truck. They're a little more expensive. They're $1,100 a piece. We were able to buy a used brush truck from Greenbackville at a cost of $7,500. The reason we bought that, of course, the equipment we have is big. We had several fires, a couple in town, one over Bay Creek, several out of town that we had to drop back and hunt and wait for the closest truck, which came from Eastville. So we were able to get that truck. We also have just got it in service. Back in October, we bought a used engine. It used to be a former Chesapeake City Fire engine. It's a 99 E1. We bought that to replace the aging 1984 open cab truck that we have. Just recently, the 2 weeks ago, we've just got that truck in service, still working out some of the kinks in it. Also, our past meeting, our SCBA bottles, which they have a 15-year life, within a year, due for replacement, had another 5 years left on the packs. We were able to buy some slightly used units. They come out of the city of Phoenix. They chose to go up to a different pack. The guy we have come down yearly, do the service on ours, hooked us up on it. We were able to get those for $1,000 a piece. They normally run brand new if you order them allotments of 10. They run right around $6,800. Also, this upcoming year, I'd like to try working on replacing some of the our turnout gear, and that runs right around $2,200 a set per person. Also, give out, this past year, we were able to, with the help of our support staff, as well as many non-member volunteers, we were able to remodel our men and women's restrooms. Right now, they are complete, they look great. As of right now, our kitchen is next, and the remodeling has already begun. Just a kind of brief overview. If anyone has any questions, I'll try to do my best to answer them.
Did you give the price of the 9981?
We paid $14,500 for that. We had to-
$14,000.
Yeah, $14,500. Luckily, the new tires we had just put on the other engine, we were able to swap them on the rear. Had to redo upgrade the lighting system. As of right now, we have just not quite, well, right at $20,000 in the unit. And that thing, market value from the fire dealers, is running right around anywhere from $68,000 to $88,000.
Do you do that
If-
work in-house?
Yes, I did.
Yes, I do.
Yes, I did.
If-
Like I say, I, of course, had a lot of help, but I did all the lighting package and so on.
If you get to 25,000, you'd be happy. I mean, that would,
Yes, sir. Like I say, I believe that would be an increase from what we had. Like I say, we've managed to get along this year, but I see a few more improvements we'd like to make, and I think that would really help in getting us.
now I'm gonna throw you a cleaner. If you, if you need more money to run, because you are a vital asset to our town, would you be behind like raising a tax a penny or something like that?
No, sir, I wouldn't. We've tried to implement a fire tax over the years, but like I say, both county as well as tiny, you just run into a brick wall with it.
Okay. That's a fire tax.
Yes.
Great,
You're-
thank you.
You're good, up to date with your audits?
Yes, as far as I know from the information I got from Holly, everything is right on target with that.
Any other questions?
I guess I'd request if we could have a hard copy of that information.
We just received.
Oh, we have it?
Yeah,
Okay,
I'll send
thank
it out.
you.
And you started off by saying we budgeted 18 last year?
It was
Yes, I believe it was
18.
18,600, I believe.
It's in the town manager's code.
There's more chairs up here if you want to take them, set them up at the end of the aisles, up by the kitchen here.
Well done. Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks.
Thank you for your service. Carol Evans, please, welcome. Eastern Shore Virginia Tourism Commission.
Thank you. I'm here this evening to talk to you about The Sky is the Limit.
The microphone so they can hear you.
Better?
Can you hear in the
Is it
back?
on?
Blowing it. There you go, it's
Yeah,
on.
it's on.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I think I've heard that before. I have for you invitations for The Sky is the Limit. This is a tourism event. This is the first of its kind on the shore. It's being held on Tuesday, April the 8th. It's at Eastern Shore Community College Workforce Development Center, and it starts at 12:30 and ends at 6:30. It is probably the first time that we have been able to pull together a collaboration of some of the big names in tourism here on the shore. And what we hope to do is give you the opportunity for tourism-related businesses as well as new entrepreneurial tourism-related businesses to come and learn how to better market. Today, there are so many options for us, and a lot of them are very expensive. And what we would like to do is show businesses that this is a way, there are ways to get around that. And it's also in collaboration with not only the Eastern Shore Tourism Commission, but also the Virginia Tourism Corporation. I'm going to pass these around if you need more, please let me know, and any of those out here
Yeah.
who would like more
We
information,
have
they
a
can
lot right here.
contact.
We can also pass.
Okay, great, we'll see what you get from. I'd like to give you a quick story. We're going back in time, probably to 1994, when a group of us got together and realized the value of what a tourism commission could be. And we launched this effort, and that was to go directly to the Virginia Tourism Corporation. And there is a difference between the Virginia Tourism Corporation and the Eastern Shore Tourism Commission. So commission is a local, corporation is the mother over all of tourism for our state. So we all got our duds together, we got on a bus and went to Richmond, where we were welcomed by the corporation with the board of directors. We were lunched very nicely and then escorted into the boardroom where we sat down in big overstuffed swivel chairs and got ready for this presentation. And the presentation was by the board of directors telling us what each of their responsibilities are for tourism in our state. And they brought the map down off of the centerfold there in the room, and were telling us how each region, each of the state has different regions in it and what they can do for us. And we all got to start to giggle because the state map in that room did not have the Eastern Shore of Virginia on it. It was like, what? You've asked the Eastern Shore of Virginia to come to learn more about, and you don't even have us on your map. So this makes a point, and that is, they did not know who we were, and they didn't know where we were. So we are like the little mouse that roared, and that it has taken, it's almost 20 years now, that our commission has been involved in actively pursuing, getting information out, and finding ways to encourage tourism to the Eastern Shore. This event that I'm speaking of, The Sky is the Limit, will provide opportunities for existing businesses as well as new entrepreneurial businesses. The Eastern Shore Tourism Commission has developed a tourism summit that is bringing in the experts in marketing, collaboration, and experiential tourism. Experiential tourism is a big word for what Dave Burden does with his wonderful Southeast expeditions. Space launches, the Artisan Trail that you're very aware of that's being formed right now, and the Yacht Center are changes to the tourism landscape that will have a significant effect on our whole shore. Some of the speakers that we're going to have for the event include, and the topics included are, Lynn Locken is going to visit with us. She has been a consultant to us here on the shore. Lynn has attended the last launch in Cape Canaveral. She went down, had this wonderful experience of seeing actually how it was done, where it is done, and how we could learn from that. So she is going to bring that kind of information to us. We have also a gentleman who is with the let's get it right. He's the Deputy Executive Director of the Virginia Commercial Spaceflight Authority, which owns Mars, which is the Mid-Atlantic Regional Spaceport. So he will be actually giving that very important commercial end of things to us. We have somebody talking to us about this experiential tourism and the future marketing of your business in tourism. Dave Newdeck, who is with the Virginia Tourism Corporation, will be here to talk to you about that. We also have a gentleman who is with marketing and PR, and he's going to lead an interactive presentation on how businesses can take advantage of new opportunities on the shore. There will be an actual sit-down panel to discuss how entrepreneurial business are partnering such as this wonderful wine tour that Dave has developed. He's working with the Beds and Breakfast, he's working with other businesses to make this more of a comprehensive experience in tourism. There will also be a thing called a World Cafe, and after you've listened to all these impressive speakers and have an opportunity to learn their expertise, you will then have an opportunity to do a face-to-face with them and meet with them individually as to how what their information is and how it relates to your business. So the World Cafe is a rather new way of making it much more personal to you and your tourism business. Note that we are giving prizes away, and one is valued at over $8,000 in a marketing opportunity. So there's some great prizes and they'll be given throughout the event itself. Now, the seating is limited, 200 people, and we've already got 130 people registered. So if you're interested, we hope that you will quickly call, and there's information, or you can sign up online, and again, it's all free. So, along with this, I wanted to bring to your attention two other things that are happening, and that is, we are really being pushed into a competition with our state of Maryland on this whole space tourism event. The Baltimore Sun ran an article about how Wallops is impacting and how they hope to develop some very definite tourism strategies in Maryland to get tourism up and running for their lower Maryland shore. They are already planning bus trips from Ocean City, Maryland to Wallops for the launching events. Ocean City is 1 hour from Wallops. Cape Charles is 1 hour, 11 minutes. Do you get it? It is something that is really going to happen. And we need to understand better how we can jump on the bandwagon and make it happen for the lower shore. We think of all the things that are happening up there are related to Chincoteague. Not so. We talk about the viewing platforms. Where can you see? There's no better place than right across the bay in Oyster, Virginia to watch these launches. It's awesome. We have seen launches from Cape Charles Harbor, right here. So it's not like it's out of the realm of possibility. And I think the biggest and most wonderful thing to have happen is a launch that has to be delayed. Guess what? We have a list of things that you can do when your launch is delayed. Certainly Cape Charles is involved in that. Another point here is that the Maryland Tourism Corporation, or pardon me, Maryland's Tourism Board has already launched a very interactive website on space tourism. We too are working diligently on that, and we'll have more information. There will be a landing page on the Eastern Shore of Virginia's tourism website. So know that there's some announcements to be made also at this event, and we look forward to sharing that with you. Has anyone here signed up yet? Oh, good. Okay, great. Well, we hope that it will get a little more contagious. Are there any questions that I might be able to answer?
I know that Virginia Beach, maybe, I don't think it's Norfolk, because there's an editorial in the paper on it. Coastal Virginia.
Yes.
Instead of Hampton Roads, I was raised in Tidewater, and it became Hampton Roads. And at the airports in New York, they put Hampton Roads up. Nobody knew where they were going. So they changed it back to Norfolk Virginia Beach.
Chris, you make such a good point.
Yeah, are we involved, and because there was a letter to the editor yesterday or the day previous in the pilot, that coastal Virginia, we have far more coast than Virginia Beach.
We certainly do.
Do you know anything about that?
There is an alliance called the Coastal Virginia Alliance, which we are a part of because of our tourism corporation, or commission here on the shore. And we have, if you have yet to see the Virginia Travel Guide, in there we are listed as Coastal Virginia Eastern Shore. We've never been listed that way. So it gives us a much greater And by the way, the Bed and Breakfast Association for the Eastern Shore have renamed themselves on a website called Coastal Virginia Bed and Breakfast. We're trying to get one step ahead here. So your point's a very good one, and it's exciting.
Now, is $1,000 prize 2 nights in Texas?
No, it's in Cape Charles. Okay. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be able to bring this news to you, and if we can help you out in any way, please let us know. We are really excited, and note that I said this is the first annual, because we hope this will become something that everybody can start to look forward to, getting the big news, the big guns here, at least on an annual basis. And I will tell you that the Virginia Tourism Corporation, they practically kill each other trying to see who's going to get to come to the Eastern Shore next. They love the Eastern Shore. Thank you.
Just one other thing, anybody that's running for council really should attend this workshop, because you get a whole insight into tourism that you will not have.
Thanks again.
Thank you,
Carol,
Carol.
TripAdvisor.
Oh. You know, we are a DMO. Do you know what a DMO is? We are a direct marketing organization. The Tourism Commission is. And because of that, we represent a region, and that's what makes it an official DMO. There can only be one DMO in a region. We are the DMO. And because of that, we have the opportunity to go to big media calls in New York City, and that's how the New York Times got involved in the half page that did a whole half-page story on the Eastern Shore of Virginia. Also, as a DMO, we also are then placed by TripAdvisor to be a destination for a region. And we have just received that designation. TripAdvisor, oh my gosh, what more could we ask for? Well, we could ask for a little bit more, but that's the beginning. So we are working diligently right now to develop a strategy so we can actually optimize, help me out, you know what I'm saying, optimize this opportunity, because this will put, Cape Charles could not do this alone. It had to be done through the DMO. So,
Well done.
okay.
Good job. Well done. Thank you. Marion Nauer, Cape Charles Historical Society. Good evening.
Okay, so you're probably saying, oh, there she is again. Every year she comes, wants $15,000 for a professional director so she can do less work. And doesn't she know that we have many organizations to support, and it's going to be equitable with other nonprofits? Why does she know that? Well, if you read the note about the crater and related topics, you'll know why. But first, I want to say a little bit about tourism to build on what Carol said. Museums, and we are one of them, we run one of them. There are at least 8, maybe 10 on the Eastern Shore. We put out this brochure some years ago. It's being updated. And Alan at Byrne, at the visitor center, cannot get enough of them. He says they're in big demand. He always wants more. And yet we do almost no marketing. By putting all the museums in one, we pay $100 a year to the visitor center to keep this one brochure. It serves all of us. But we do very little marketing. Somehow we get into TripAdvisor. I guess I wrote a little thing. If you Google Cape Charles, the museum pops right up. I don't know how it happens, but I guess there's some interest in museums. I think of them, the museums, as really gifts to tourism. They're gifts because they're kind of like the beach. They're there. And some volunteers are running them, and they don't have to make money, they just have to survive. Because, you know, we're not paying for somebody's food and that sort of stuff. So they are gifts to tourism. The point of tourism is to make money for businesses, very valid. But that's not the point of museums. Museums are for education. So it's quite different, but we have a partnership there that's very important. Well, you have the financials, right? You got the financials, and you got a list of some of our accomplishments, so you know that. And if you're members, and I hope everybody will renew their membership or become members, you get the newsletters which keep you abreast of what we're doing. So let me dive into this proposal here. So I am again asking $15,000 to partly fund a professional director to be the leader, because we really have a very exciting possibility. And exciting is kind of a marketing word. Really, it's an important educational opportunity. The water is rising, the land is sinking, which may be related to the crater. And this is affecting our future, our present and our future. Our museum is basically a history museum. More important than history is what's coming. And so, what we would like to fund is we would like to get a interpretive center on the shore. And interpretive center is the word from Polish school, thank you, to focus on this. This is a major opportunity. It's unique because the crater was here, and Hampton Roads is experiencing the highest amount of sea level rise of the whole eastern coast of the United States. Hampton Roads is the highest. And half our visitors come from Virginia, many from the Tidewater area. So, to focus on that issue and pull in the crater, which may be contributing to land sinking, because it made a big hole and everything fell in, and it's, after 35 million years, apparently it's still sinking. Hard to believe. Anyway, that is something that people need to be educated about. And it's really a critical issue. It's more than making money, and it's more than having a nice house. It's the future. I remember when, I think it was the Arlington, it was something that opened, and it was on the shore south of here. And some elderly person was in this group, and we looked out into the bay, and he said, when I was a kid, we could walk out a half a mile further. It's really real. So, given the importance, there's a real need for public education and awareness. And what do you need? You need a place, an interpretive center. And you need professional people to put it together. Our board of directors is a wonderful group. I don't even do displays anymore. The other people put them up. We've got a great new exhibit on the Bridge Tunnel celebration. We had this ferry reunion, and it's really important and neat. So, if you can imagine an interpretive center, you can imagine a simulation of this crater. Can you imagine? The waves were like 30 feet high, 100 feet high, I can't remember, 30 miles or something. Anyway, made a big splash, and then everything poured in. And it must be an amazing, you're probably in a simulation of it. And there's lots of information about it. What do we have now? We have handouts, paper handouts, and they go very fast. But, we collected this stuff, and those guys were doing the drilling, and it's still popular. So, this goes hand in hand. Having somebody to market this possibility. Now, the Rotary Club is doing a great thing by funding a conference that will really do the marketing of this idea, of the fact that this is important and that it's continuing to be important. I think it's so important, and I'm just naively thinking that if it's important to the state of Virginia, perhaps the state of Virginia might fund such an interpretive center. After all, they have a science museum. They fund a lot of museums, mostly Civil War things. Maybe they could do another science thing. And we could approach that, they could be approached for this. What will be their first question? Just like any outside agency, if you ask for funds, what sort of local support do you have? Number one, does the county and the town support this organization? And please list the professional director. That's in black and white on any federal grant. You have to have one, and they're right. How can you imagine running an interpretive center if you can't staff it and build it with professional people? We do not have them. You notice what our operating budget is, $35,000. That's about what you'd need to pay a director, a full-time director. Yeah, we come in over budget, so we can contribute to the professional director, but anybody would laugh if an organization with a $35,000 operating budget wanted to build a whole interpretive center. So we've got to know that we would get support from Cape Charles and probably from the county. For instance, I know you're buying land. Maybe you could pledge $50,000 towards a future interpretive center. And we'll put it away and keep it there. And start to fund part of a director. There are so many young people graduating with museum education and experience. This is a wonderful job for a young person. What have you, you've got a fantastic history with the steamers and the railroad and the crater and Arlington. Compare that with most places. It's really cool. So I just think you could get somebody. So that's it. You can give us our usual amount, or you can step forward and try to do a bit more. There are possibilities of partial grants from like the Virginia Foundation for Humanities, and we do have savings. We were able to do the roof, even though we didn't get the money for it because we had savings. But please give it consideration, and renew memberships. If anybody would like to be a member, I'll put you here.
Marion,
Yes.
how long have you been president?
That's what I was thinking.
Been president. Well, I started being affiliated in 1995 and we opened in 1996. And I don't know, I became president about 2000 or something, but I was very active before that too. And it's time. And I've been the treasurer since 2002. And that is a lot of work.
And what is your salary?
Zero, minus, because I contribute. I get to pay my dues.
This is supposed to be a group of very concerned citizens in the town of Cape Charles. How many people in this room, raise your hands, belong to the Historical Society?
Currently.
Currently.
And current is paid. Oh, but you're gonna there are more forms, yeah.
Okay.
But we have a very loyal following.
And God bless Jan and Bill
Oh
Neville.
my God.
And people, we have a guy in Arlington who just sent in $800 because his great grandfather lived here, and he gives that amount almost every year. And a lot of people who are not in Cape Charles, which is amazing. But people who have lived here are very loyal. It's wonderful. But we need current residents too. So there you are. Any other questions? Yes.
I like your breakdown,
Breakdown?
your
Oh, okay.
expenses.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, all right.
Item D, presentation of the town seal to New Youth Garden. I hate abbreviations. Ms. Holloway? Who else is here? Oh, Brooke. Oh, the whole gang is here. This is beautiful.
Change my hat.
something very exciting going on. All right, at this time, we have public comment. Remember, you have 3 minutes. If you still need to sign up, do so.
George Proto?
I have some further comments on the transient occupancy tax. I understand there have been a number of comments on the Cape Charles Business Association's position on the transient occupancy tax, the TOT. I think it is in order to make a few points in this regard. First, the letter sent to the town on March 11th was written with the unanimous approval of the CCBA board and is the position of the board at this point in time. The current board has representatives from various merchant types, including retail, food service, lodging, and professional services. It was not the product of one person, myself, or anyone else. It was written as a direct result of the CCBA being asked if and how we might support the Cape Charles by the Bay website and marketing. The background to that request, as the board understands it, is that the Cape Charles by the Bay website was designed and built through a grant obtained by the Our Town Committee to promote the town of Cape Charles. There were no grant funds allocated for support and maintenance of the website. The increase in TOT was brought forward as a way to do this without putting a direct burden on the citizens or businesses of the town. The TOT increase proposal presented to the council at the March 14th work session, which also included suggested allocations and recipients, did not come from the CCBA. Second, the concerns raised about the impact of an increased TOT are certainly valid. The CCBA board as a whole believes the whole town wants to support tourism and the numerous organizations that have promoted this town. Promoting tourism also includes branding and marketing, support for the Eastern Shore Tourism Commission at some appropriate level, print marketing, and of course the website. Those things all need to be paid for. That means doing one of two things. Either the town redistributes its existing projected revenue so every organization gets less, or it takes in additional revenue. The real sense of the original letter is that maintaining the website and marketing of Cape Charles needs to be supported because in the end it will bring more revenue into the town. As to the exact amount, further to be put in, input to the town from businesses and the public is appropriate and supported by the CCBA. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll get your comment.
Donna Kohler?
My name is Donna Olney Kohler, and I live at 711 Tazewell Avenue. My home is also operated as Fig Street Inn, which has been in business since May of 2011. I attended the March 13th work session in which a proposed transient occupancy tax was discussed by council. I would like to share some information before the public hearing and vote that I hope you will consider in your discussions. You were provided a pro forma with projected increases ranging from 0.7 to 1.7%. Those were provided to demonstrate how much money could be generated by a TOT increase and what types of projects could be funded. In my opinion, they were not an endorsement by any person or group saying that one increase is better than another. At that session, council unanimously agreed to consider a 0.7% increase. The average daily rate for Fig Street Inn in 2013 was about $153. Even if I speculate that my ADR would increase to $160, a 0.7 increase in TOT tax equals an additional $1.12 per night. I do not believe $1.12 will prevent someone from staying at my inn, from visiting Cape Charles, or persuade a potential guest to stay outside the town limits versus in town. As a business that is responsible for collecting this tax, I would consider support for an increase. My concern about this tax increase are how those funds will be spent and the process by which they will be allocated. I believe that some of those funds need to be dedicated to the branding and marketing of Cape Charles, specifically Cape Charles by the Bay. I do need to say, if you are not already aware, that I have been involved with Cape Charles by the Bay since its beginning. I helped write the grant for to the Virginia Tourism Corporation for its funding. I wrote the initial marketing plan with Ned Brinkley's help, and my business was one of the initial contributors. I am the one who created and maintains the social media for the initiative. This request may come across as self-serving, but I believe in this project, and I hope that the other 20-plus businesses and organizations who gave initial funding do so as well. The businesses came together to create a consistent brand and message for the town, and that should be sustained if we want tot and meals tax collections to continue to increase. It was pointed out in the March 13th session that if costs were to be paid only by the businesses involved, the cost would be $785 per year. Even if we were to increase participation to 40 businesses, the cost would be $450 per business per year. These amounts are not realistic for many Cape Charles businesses. I believe any ordinance to increase the transient occupancy tax needs to address funding for the continued maintenance and support of the Cape Charles by the Bay initiative.
20 seconds.
I invite the council to contact me with questions regarding Cape Charles by the Bay, and I am happy to answer what I can.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
Henry Mayer.
Good evening. I'm Hank Mayer. I'm with my wife. We own the Cape Charles by the Bay.
Yeah.
Cape Charles, the Chesapeake Bay View Bed and Breakfast in Cape Charles and Bay Avenue. We also own a vacation rental property here in town. We are on a variety of boards here in town. We volunteer a lot of our time for events, activities, and promoting tourism here in town. So we very much support increasing the TOT by the 0.7%, especially dedicating the entire TOT towards promoting and supporting tourism. Tourism being the website, tourism being the events here in town, tourism being the organizations like the museum and others. We're very supportive of that. I would also like the council to reconsider the idea of a tourism board or commission or committee. Not so much in terms of how allocation of money, but I think in several of the subjects that were brought up this evening, there is a need for an organization here in town to be focused on tourism, to bring organizations together, to advise the council in terms of what ought to be funded, what kinds of marketing ought to be done, what kinds of events ought to be done, how people ought to, I mean, there's probably 8 to 10 Facebook pages here in town. Everybody's got a Facebook page, everybody's marketing themselves. There's no really bringing it together for getting the maximum punch out of it. We're all spending a lot of money on print advertising. We're doing social media marketing. There's no coordinated plan. I think that the commission would help accomplish that.
John. Brooke Bernard. Brooks.
Hello, Madam Mayor, and the rest of the crew. How are y'all doing tonight?
The crew's well. How are
Okay,
you?
that's good. My name is Brooke Bernard, and for those of you who do not know me, I'm from Virginia Beach, Virginia, and I grew up loving the shore and the coastline, and I really enjoy living in Cape Charles. We moved here in 2009 from Jupiter, Florida, to relocate from my husband's job at Bayshore Concrete Products, and I have a degree in biology from East Carolina and also another degree in interior design from Palm Beach State College. I also work for Tidewater Community College as a part-time professor online, and I'm a stay-at-home mom with a 3-year-old and an 11-month-old. So I'm pretty busy. Anyways, I live on Tazewell. You probably see me in town walking my golden retriever and walking my kids. I just love this town and just really appreciate what the Eastern Shore has brought to our lives in raising our family here. Why am I here tonight? Well, I'm here to propose, I guess, a new idea, but not really a new idea. I'm currently working on researching, I'm in the research phase of organizing a weekly farmers market for Cape Charles. And this idea isn't new. I'm no expert in farmers markets at all, but my desire comes from my heart, and it reflects my personal passion to live an environmentally friendly lifestyle. So my vision for the Cape Charles Farmers Market incorporates community, health, education, and sustainability. It is I think it's going to be a wonderful way to bring the people of our community together in the surrounding areas on a weekly basis to support our local economy, farmers, watermen, chefs, artists, and our local business, small business owners, as well as potentially increase the business of new entrepreneurs in the area. In addition to increasing our access to local healthy foods, it will also provide a platform to educate the public and also contribute to the viability of the town. So I would like to kindly request the town's support, and would like to know if you all would be able to provide any free land or space or funds to allocate for this new idea for Cape Charles. And while being mindful of the locals as well as the tourists, I would like to gather your opinions on the best day for this particular event and also the best time for this particular event. And I don't want to interfere with any of the town's scheduled events. You all know that we put on amazing events here in the town and kind of like reflect those events as well, but this will be more of a weekly basis type of thing. And I would truly appreciate your support, and thank you.
Thank you.
Marion, Marion, raise your hand. That Brooke, get her business card afterwards. Yeah, go ahead. Any questions?
Any questions for me?
Asked about the free land, are you talking about renting or leasing,
Well, because it's a farmer's market, I would like to keep the money back in their pockets, not take, I'm willing to donate my time, I'm willing to do the work, I'm willing to be the market manager. I want to bring the community together and to provide a place for healthy food, healthy products, a fun, family-friendly atmosphere, and I really think that this will be really good for this town.
Excuse me, Tammy,
I know.
you got her?
Yeah.
All right.
We're neighbors.
Yes. Oh, okay. Any other questions?
Well,
By all means.
I want to point out that we have in our comp plan and I think in our harbor plan, farmers market area, and I encourage, we've talked, Brooke and I have talked earlier in the week, and I'm trying to connect her with Smitty to see whether or not there's an opportunity to put the farmers market somewhere near the new, hopefully, fish market at the harbor. So people could get both fresh vegetables and also go to the Shanty's addition when it's complete and get fresh fish also.
Or go to the New Roots Garden area and get your vegetables and then go have a beverage at the shanty and get your food.
That works too.
Or get your
Or-
New Roots Garden across the street to the lots which we may decide to purchase tonight and have the, as you come into town, a perfect location.
There you go. I'm gonna vote for you. Thank you.
So much.
To the chagrin of many in the room.
Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you. Yes, next.
Larry Weber?
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to address all of you. But I want to talk to you about something to me that's very, very, very negative about our
Can they
town.
hear you? Can you hear him?
No.
Give me time now.
Well, yeah.
I'd like to address all of you about something that's very concerning to me in the town. And that has to do with what I hear and what I see from people that come in town. We just had two people recently that loved Cape Charles. They were so impressed with Cape Charles. They looked at everything except they said, listen, we understand your town is going bankrupt. I said, oh, no, not that I know about. Oh yeah, everything we read about in the Wave, it's bankrupt. You guys are going under to under. You are really in serious, serious trouble. Now, I said, well, let's do a little quick check of where the town really is today. So he and I, and then the second group, went to our most recent audit and looked at our most recent audit that we had. And that was the one that we don't have the audit completed now, as you know. It's on our website. So we looked to see what the ratio of our debt is. Are we really seriously in trouble? Because if we are, we better start cutting everything. Well, and I'll leave this out here, and I'd like to have give a copy to the Wave too. Okay? Please. I think it's so important, and you're so important to our town. We need to have somebody who's going to give the information and not editorialize it. I really am asking you to do that. We have currently, as of the last audit, our ratio of debt to assets is 1.42%. That means out of every dollar that we own in this town, in assets, we owe a penny 0.4. So that is not a serious, to me, a serious problem. We spend a lot of money, we borrow a lot of money. We put in things such as the sand at the beach. We did things with the water. We had to do something with our sewer plant. We did such things as everything from the library, Central Park. Yet I'm listening and I hear people coming in saying, man, this town is in trouble. We ain't in trouble, okay? But there's a group somewhere that keeps on talking.
30 seconds.
Keeps on talking, keeps on beating, and it's hurting our town. In my opinion, it's having a tremendous negative effect on Cape Charles. 2 people that I met said, you guys are really in trouble. They're waiting for us to shut the lights off and move out of town. And you know what, folks? We ain't that bad. We really aren't. But yet whoever is doing all this stirring up is not doing anybody a service. So I'm gonna leave some of this here.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm going to leave this information over there for
Thank you.
people to take a look at. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.
Thought we weren't supposed to clap. Oh, you can clap now?
Oh, for awards, sorry. Yeah, for awards.
The next person signed up, I'm sorry, I can't read your name. It looks like L. It starts with an M. Lives at 309 Tazewell. Oh, Lenora, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Lenora Mitchell, 309 Tazewell. Glad Larry went before me.
Can you hear her?
No. Can you hear me? Okay.
Hey, pull it up, Lenora. Just take it out. If you can't hear, raise your hands. That's the best way to move it along.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Get closer.
Can you hear me now? Glad Larry went before me, so I know you guys have money. First, I believe that the 7 of you are responsible individuals. I believe that the 7 of you are responsible individuals. However, I am a little concerned about the 11.79 million bond debt that won't be paid off until around 2034, when some of us will be almost 100 years old. I believe that the 7 of you have the community's interests and needs at heart. I believe that you have a vision for Cape Charles, and that you have a master plan to realize that vision. And each decision that you make and every dollar you spend is getting us closer. The only problem is that that vision has not been shared with us. You are doing for us and determining what we need and what we want, not allowing the community to participate in the decision-making process. Public hearings have become just a formality because you let us know that you've already made the decision. You draw up the resolutions, you sign them, you get the contracts prepared, and you move forth to seal the deal without any deliberations or considerations of citizens' remarks and concerns during these public hearings. One day we will have that aha moment when we will finally see what you were doing for us. But right now we see through the glass darkly. Since you're on a spending jag, and thank you, Larry, for saying that you have money, I'm going to ask you to add a couple of things to the purchase order. A lot for the Promise basketball court. It's sad to ride through and see the little kids bouncing a ball and shooting up in the air. We promised them that. It's not just for the kids, it's for some adults. Would you think about purchasing the old meat land and the Bayshore Market buildings? Both come with parking lots, one for a community center and one for a grocery store. And have our creative staff develop an incentive package that might entice someone to come. The last request is that you purchase some open space for another park where kids can play sports and we can participate in other physical activities. Thank you.
Sorry, Luna.
No problem.
Deborah Bender?
Deborah Bender, I live at 300 Fulcher Street. It seems that the town council does not know the old proverb, "A fool and his money are soon parted." Cape Charles Town Council needs to find a new negotiator for real estate transactions. Council seems to fall for every developer that comes along with a bright idea for something that the town should buy or sell. The latest offer that we know about comes from Dickie Foster, who wants to sell the town 7 lots at the entrance of town for $100,000. Is that a deal? We hear that the town needs to snap up this offer before someone else buys the property, but I'm not buying that argument. Where are the buyers to purchase the lots coming into town before the museum? Where is the buyer for the old Meatland building or the clinic behind it? You should call Mr. Foster's bluff and tell him to sell the lots if he can. My guess is they would still be for sale 5 or 6 years from now at $100,000. 2.5 years ago, you negotiated in secret to sell our school in the park for $10. That property was 7 lots, part of the street and part of the park. All that for $10. But what are the needs of the people of Cape Charles? We need sidewalks for the residents of Heritage Acres so that they can get to and from town safely. That was raised at a town council meeting more than a year ago, but there are still no sidewalks. The citizens of this town deserve water they can actually drink. Our town needs parking on Mason Avenue for shoppers and visitors. Have you looked into buying the old Belo property, or are you waiting for someone to come along and make an offer? The town does not need a non-historic traffic circle at the entrance to town, so we don't need to make a fullest expenditure of $100,000 borrowed dollars. We need to hold the line on taxes, spending, and water bills. We've had enough of the town borrowing and spending without a needs assessment and without consulting the people who live in this town. Thank you.
Is that it? That's the last person that I signed up, but I did get one email from Lemoyne Crean from Blue Heron Realty. Says, I'm writing to you pertaining to the proposed Cape Charles transient occupancy tax increase from 3% to 3.7%.
Oh, they can't hear you. Pull your mic. Here's your mic.
I believe you will be attending the town council. I believe you'll be attending the town council meeting on Thursday, March 20th, 2014, at which time a vote on the proposed tax increase is planned. Therefore, I would like to ask you to copy or read my email to the council members. First, I really think that the proposed tax increase in all likelihood will be counterproductive, resulting in the loss of some rentals. It is our experience that renters who vacation here do so because they rent here for a little less than in other areas. Accordingly, landlords find that they are restrained in the amount that they can charge, even though they have high operating costs and lots of wear and tear on their homes. While vacation rentals have come into their own in Cape Charles, it is our opinion that this business is still somewhat fragile. We think the proposed tax increase will be a negative factor in the stabilization of these rentals, which everyone seems to agree are important to Cape Charles and Cape Charles businesses. Second, if council is determined to impose this tax increase, I recommend that it not commence until January 1, 2015. We and others have booked many Cape Charles vacation rentals at the 3% rate and have many leases out at this rate. A tax increase before this date will impose the new portion of the tax on the landlords because it's too late to charge tenants who have already booked. Most rental reservations are made in the first 3 to 4 months of the year. In addition, a tax increase will be expensive and time-consuming for us because we will have to redo our multiple website quotes, leases, computer programs, and bookkeeping. Providing time to prepare for this increase next year seems reasonable to us. Thank you for your consideration.
That's all. The next item, approval of the agenda format. Need a motion?
Second.
Hearing no objections, so moved by unanimous consent. Item B, approval of the minutes, motion.
So moved.
Any questions, any additives? Not, so moved by unanimous consent. Department reports, the first is the treasurer's report. Good evening, Jerry.
Good evening, how are you? I think all of you have received the standard treasurer's report that we issue. The total cash on hand, this is as of February 28th, was the $1,367,574. In most cases, these accounts only change by the interest that's accrued as far as interest revenue. Of course, the main checking account, the Shore Bank, the balance today is $762,000. The other accounts are, like I say, interest-bearing, or they're cash that is on reserve, changed only again by the interest that's accrued for the month. The bottom of the schedule shows collections as far as revenues through February 28th. Business license is kind of ahead. I think we got a jump start on getting the business licenses out early this year, and perhaps that's accounting for some of that accelerated revenue there. You see the $17,493. And if there's any questions, you feel free to ask. The next schedule is page 2, just showing the fund balances, the revenues, and the operating expenses, again, through February 28th. Page 3 is a detail of the capital improvements. Probably one of the biggest highlights there is the wastewater construction. I think through February, 90,172. This is just money that's carried over from fiscal year into fiscal year 14. It's wrapping up the project and paying final bills. And the last page shows year-to-date collections on real estate taxes as well as personal property taxes. 85% has been collected compared to what has been billed. And on personal property taxes, about 75%.
Jerry, what's the penalty on personal property? Do you know?
It's 10%, our standard 10%, and there'll be a 10% penalty that was added on December 5, plus it's 10% per month, so 1/12 of 10% as well. So, as a side note, Paul Stolnick worked this week to, all of the accounting and finance. We worked on getting the delinquent real estate and personal property tax bills out to hopefully accelerate some of those delinquent payments coming in. They were all mailed last week. The golf cart decals have come in. We've been in contact with Dan Devonet and as well Malcolm. So for those of you who have golf carts, the golf cart decal must be on by April 15. We offer one-stop shopping by visiting Interstate Equipment or Custom Carts. You can do your registration, your inspection, as well as paying the fee right there. And of course, if not, get your inspection and come onto the office, and we can handle the registration and collection of the tax there. Any questions?
Need a motion?
I have a question. Earlier speaker made reference to the town's bond debt. That's kind of been fluctuating around in discussions. I think we tried to kind of pin that down. Is there a figure that is being consistently used in the accounting department of the town as to our accurate debt at this time? Is 10.79, is that?
I believe we provided that at the last council meeting. I didn't bring it with me, but I mean, we provided it, the amount in the last work session. It was, I don't know.
Frank, I don't have those numbers with me, but we receive, statements every month as far as, the debt balances and.
Do you need another copy?
I can get you another copy.
I was just curious as if it would have a consistent number. In the report, it shows the total real estate value in town, $409,929,000.
Those are the assessments, that have been provided by Northampton County.
And then previously, I think when we borrowed the $1,130,000 most recently, a consultant from Davenport said that figure was used, you could borrow, the state would allow you, if a town was so motivated, to borrow up to 40. But that's only, see, but that figure, I guess I would caution that's a little misleading. We get too happy where we are, but because what do we think the true value of our real estate is? If there was went to an auction the other day, and a lot of real estate is kind of selling for somewhere around 50% of assessed value in a lot of cases. So I guess I would heard where we're financially great, and I think it's important to spend wisely and save wisely. But if you believe that number is inflated, then the amount that we ought to be willing to borrow, we should be more cautious with it. And so if it's more like half, then the value's $200 million, and we're 10 million, almost $11 million in debt. So I don't think that ratio is as favorable as we were recently told in one of the presentations.
Actually, Frank's that, I have that at the Gazette here, 11.79 million.
11.7, okay.
That's six current bonds, our current bonds.
Okay, but I've been hearing 10, so now it's 11.
It should be match the same information that we provided.
Okay.
Of that 5.15, that's the zero interest loan for the wastewater plant. So 5 million of the 11. And at the last work session, we provided all the information on what we used. Each bond was for over the years.
Right.
Wastewater plant, the pier, the park, all the assets, infrastructure that's been put in place.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
And that is available to anyone who would like to, it's all public information.
So we need a motion to accept the treasurer's report as read. Thank you, George.
So moved. Second.
There are no objections, so moved by unanimous consent. Planning Commission and boards?
Just got a couple of updates. Number 2 on the report, Heather and I met with Elaine Meal today. She has finished her initial read-through and review of the comp plan and kind of made some notes on items that she thinks might need addressing during the update. So we were going over that and giving her feedback on which ones were kind of bigger updates versus just minor updates of names and stuff like that. So she's gonna be typing all that up and getting it back to us. We should be looking at our first comp plan meeting probably in April. The Historic Review Board, we met earlier in the week. There was 2 additional applications that came in after this report was written. All 3 applications were approved. We also found out from Elaine today that just yesterday, the PDC obtained funding to do a feasibility study and construction drawings to extend the bike trail up and into down 184, stopping just outside of the town. So at some point, they might be looking for the town to try to meet up with it.
And I believe she actually said they had enough money for the engineering and construction plans.
Right. I guess right now they don't have funding for the actual construction, but they can do the feasibility study and get the drawings done. And then also, May 10th from 10 to 2 at the Bird's Nest Convenience Center, the PDC is hosting the 2014 hazardous waste collection. You can take any garden chemicals, poisons, paint thinner, stuff like that. And they'll be doing the disposal up there.
Any questions?
Can you give us just a real 1 or 2 word on the additional Historic District Review Board items?
One of them was for the Bay Haven Inn. They had a non-functional chimney in the rear of the house that was becoming a liability. It was kind of falling apart a little bit, so they were requesting to take that down and repair patch the hole in the roof. And the other one was for a vacant lot on Tazewell, New Home to Beagle.
Wow. Thank you for real estate tax. Thank you so much.
How many new homes are going up in Bay Creek? Do you know? Do you have that? I saw 3 yesterday.
Within the past 6 months, it's 6. And there's potential of 3 more going up within the next 6 months.
Any other questions? I have one. You just humor me a little bit. For the record, I would like to hear from you. If you received any actual communication from the vet that was supposed to come into town, but we scared him away with a $30,000 hookup that was in the way.
Right. Sometime back, I was contacted by him. I think he's currently in Northern Virginia. I was looking to come to town. He was asking about zoning questions, whether or not a veterinarian's office would work on that building on Randolph, Lampard building.
Right.
So I reviewed the zoning ordinance, typed up a letter saying that the zoning was fine. Gave him some information on parking standards, and that was the letter saying that the zoning was appropriate for it.
So what's the $30,000 hookup? You told him, you're the town, right? With
Yeah,
somebody?
I have no idea. As far as I know, I'm the only town employee that's talked to him,
Yeah.
and that was strictly on zoning.
Okay, so for the record, the town did not. Thank you. Any other department report?
I'd like to share something.
Okay.
I just want to share with town council what we're going to be doing for this summer, some of our summer plans. And you'll see on our sheet here, and we've already partnered with NASA. They've already been to the library twice, and they're going to be coming this summer. And we've also, the Cape Charles Museum has a display at the library this month. So we are going to have over 10 special programs this summer. We're going to be doing lots of additional things. So please come and visit us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann.
Also, if you've never seen a Ukrainian Easter egg, how many have people seen Ukrainian Easter eggs or Slavic Easter eggs? The library's having a display of about 25 Ukrainian Easter eggs during April.
Next time.
Indian from Crimea?
From Ukraine.
They're Russian, aren't they?
They're all Orthodox.
These are Ukrainians.
Yeah, but it's
It's
all
all the
Orthodox.
Slavic countries.
It is, it's all Orthodox. All right. Oh, you have something to add? I'm
I have
sorry.
something to add. I wanted to give you an update on the pier. The bids are gonna be in tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Well, the bids are due in tomorrow at 2 o'clock. I broke the bidding down into 4 main sections, demolition, electrical, concrete work, and the actual construction of the pier, just to kind of help, you know, get a mix of different contractors in there that, in hopes that we can get it moving along fast. We've got a May 26th deadline to have it finished up. That's when FEMA would like for us to have it finished up. So, which works for us too. I mean, we want to have it finished up for the summer. So, the pier will be closed probably starting next week sometime until May 26th or thereabouts. Also, the library work is probably will start this week, next week actually. The contractor's ready to start, and so we've been waiting for him to finish up the job that he was doing, so now he's ready to start on it.
How's the backlogs?
It's coming along, it's just about done. They've got one more section to pour, which is the extension of the walls on the existing part. So the new vault part is already done, they just poured the walls and that, you know, and that's completed, and so they just have to finish up the last section, which is the 3-foot extension on the existing vault, and then that'll be done.
Now, how about the emergency generator for the water plant?
That's on order, and he said it's 5 to 6 weeks out. Be a Kohler, switching brands.
It looks like you're doing some work on all the planting areas in Mason Avenue.
We
It's
did
starting to
some.
look very good.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very attractive. Yeah. So we're pleased with that. We've been talking with Ben for a couple of years about doing something out there and just kind of beating figures back and forth and everything, and he finally came up with a design that's going to be very nice, I think, at a price that we can afford.
And easy to maintain.
I hope so.
I hope so.
How's the grinder down at the Mason Avenue conversation with that?
I haven't done anything with that yet, but I'm ready to. Well, it's just a matter of ordering it and putting it in. I haven't done anything with it.
Thank you. Now, let's go on to old business. Action item, Town Code Modification 66-57, transient occupancy tax, to set a public hearing.
Madam Mayor and Council, as you know, as a result of our Town Council work session on March 13th, the Town Council discussed several options regarding the TOT and reviewed a draft ordinance at that time. Before you, there is a draft ordinance that will go to public hearing if you set a public hearing tonight. And the language in the ordinance was determined at that work session. Also, it includes the increase of the TOT by 0.7% for a total transient occupancy tax of 3.7 to the town. It does remove the 1% dedicated strictly to the Eastern Shore Virginia Tourism Commission. And also, as a result of that work session, the creation of the Cape Charles Tourism Board could possibly be a good resource, but it was premature at this time, the council felt, as a result. That can be brought up at any other time if we want to, if council feels the need to create a committee or a commission or a board, we would work towards that. The recommendation is to discuss the resolution, the ordinance in front of you for the language on the increase of the TOT and to set a public hearing, as well as, in addition, after our, as a result of our work session, we discussed, some of the other sections within the TOT that could be evaluated, maybe to give a stiffer penalty for non-collection. And I have provided a list of updates per the state code, and I can go over those sections The violation and penalties, right now, we currently have a misdemeanor 1 for non-compliance. We would change that to a misdemeanor 3 and a fine in the amount of not more than $1,000 as a penalty for the violation if the violation is proved to be a violation. Would you like me to go through each section? What we did was we went through and updated a lot of the the ordinance had not been updated since 1984, 1992, so we thought this would be a good opportunity since we are considering setting a public hearing to increase the transient occupancy tax, to also look at the other enforcing and collection, as well as currently in the current ordinance, years ago, the county collected the transient and paid the town. That was pre-annexation before another amendment. That is no longer the case. That dated back to 1991. We removed that section. The county does collect 2% as a result of the annexation, and that's paid directly to the county. And if we have any other discussions on
One question.
Tell me the one.
Do you suspect many violators?
I would say the homeowners that rent without a realtor or management company, yes.
They can't be trusted.
The only way for us to be able to try to get that, get that revenue is to make people aware. If you're renting a home, if they come in, sending out in the Gazette, sending notices to the owners, which we have done on several occasions.
There have been times in the past when you've actually had staff looking at
Websites.
vacation rentals by
Right.
owner and some
And
of the other
sending-
ones. But
right.
that's very time consuming, right?
Well, it's time consuming, but you can have your rentals out there, and you can, whether they rented, proving whether they rented it just because it's available.
Right.
I mean, most likely in the summer months, they're rented. I mean, there's a window that.
And some of them have calendars, you can see when they're
Right.
booked,
So,
but it is time consuming.
and we are going to increase that aspect of, a side project.
Do you think it might be reasonable to see if we have any citizens who'd be willing to volunteer a couple of hours a week to do some of that research and provide the names of the people?
That'd be great.
They're saying that we don't, I think I saw something that indicated that we weren't pursuing all of the transient occupancy tax that we could, and we were just letting people get away with it. And they need to understand that that's not true, that we have been doing that in the past. But if we have any good citizens here who would like to dedicate a couple of hours, a week, a month, whatever, to do some of that research, and then provide the treasurer with that information, it could then be followed up in a more targeted
Right.
way.
Right. We also compare our list with the county, so what the county collects. And
Okay.
I've also, talked to how the county handles that, and basically they don't have one person that they can dedicate towards trying to,
Same thing.
the same thing. So they struggle with the same, as well as some other localities that I've talked to, other than your hotels, your B&Bs, your real estate.
And anyone going through a rental
Right.
agency. Right. It's the individual that's probably more likely to fall through the cracks.
Right, and I do believe when we do get into the new meeting hall or community center, that having more public awareness, having more, town hall meetings where you can provide that information in the summertime or when owners are here, plan, to be able to be available. That would be I think that would be a great initiative as well.
Before I get into the discussion, I'm gonna read a little thing. As a member of the council and owner of a bed and breakfast in the town of Cape Charles, I wish to declare that the increase in the transit occupancy tax of 0.7 cent is a pass-along tax without any benefit of monetary gain to me personally or my business, and I plan to participate in the discussions. So I make no money from this tax. I've been in business 26 years. I've looked at the things on the electronic publication that we're ripping the people off, we're stuffing the money into their things, we're gonna scare people away. Never did one person ever question the tax that I pay. I know there are B&B owners sitting out here now, when I was Bruce and Cal were here. Are you ever questioned about it? No. They pay the tax, and they think our tax is cheap. Virginia Beach is, what, 11 something or 14 something? I mean, it goes up astronomically. So this is something that doesn't affect you people. It affects the people that come here, and it's not an extravagant tax. So, you know, anything you read or hear, none of those people own a bed and breakfast or a hotel or a motel. There's no hotels in town. Huh? Is there any more discussion? Okay, I make a motion that we approve, that we have set a public hearing.
For April 17th, immediately preceding the town council regular scheduled meeting. And we have a second.
Okay.
Any other?
Yes, discussion over here when you get time.
By all means, go right ahead.
She spoke up.
Someone go right ahead.
I am a strong proponent of the increase for the transient occupancy tax and for trying to dedicate the money to in-town tourism initiatives, but I didn't think it all the way through, and I would just like to bring to our attention that we generally give money to the volunteer fire company, and I want to make sure that either we're going to give money to continue to be able to give money to the volunteer fire company, because they really aren't tourism related. Almost everything else that I can think of is tourism related. Would we be able to put it there, or do we take it out of someplace else?
Well, I was gonna comment on that, but,
Right, comment.
you know, because I missed the meeting. I was sitting on the bridge watching a car burn, and, which, by the way, the Cape Charles Fire Department put out. But the sentence in the draft ordinance that says the revenue collected from the transient occupancy tax shall be allocated for tourism-related initiatives, I think, in my opinion, is too strong. Because I think for that reason, and there are others that we might not think about right now, but I have no, you know, I'm happy to dedicate a portion of it or, you know, for tourism. I don't think it should say that it shall all be allocated to tourism-related initiatives.
Okay, well, when I was reading the agenda and at the meeting and given this thought with our ongoing budget proposals, spending/investment opportunities, the different things we're all considering here with the town's tax money. As it came to me, as I was thinking about this, is like, do we have a problem that our taxes are too low, or is it more a condition of our spending is too high or too much? And that could we operate more efficiently and then go a budget cycle without having a tax increase? We just had one last year, and we had a big.
Which was the first one in 8 years.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right, well, it seems like we're kind of headed for 2 in a row, however, 7, however small some people are making this out to be, but is it really necessary? Ned Brinkley wrote a good letter. I thought that it circulated in town, made a lot of good points. At the last discussion, we said that the transient occupancy tax at the rate that it is yielding fairly significant percentage gains every year as more and more people stay in Cape Charles. Also, that there's a large percentage of people who perhaps are not paying it. I take issue with that. We need to kind of ask for volunteers to enforce our town code. I think that if this falls under code and there's a misdemeanor penalty, that's more a policing issue. We're up to a full staff now. I don't think we should encourage the any kind of vigilantism. We have a police department to enforce our town code and a code enforcement, and it can be enforced by the number of employees we currently employ. Without, I think we have more than adequate staff to do that. So, then I compare this to the issues that have already been brought up for increased spending in the budget. We just had one meeting, and we haven't done all the departments. And I'm speaking of the 2.5 full-time positions that are being asked for to make full-time and the 2 new vehicles. So my point, I do have one here, bear with it, is that if you simply forego buying one of the 2 new pickup trucks, you've got an amount of money equal to this tax increase. That, if
It has nothing to do with it.
wait a minute, what it has to do with is that you could either operate more efficiently and allocate monies where they're warranted to try to increase tourism, or opt for a tax increase. That's my point. And I think that if we held the line on buying vehicles and had a freeze on hiring, then we'd have plenty of money to accomplish the goals of the website without the tax increase this year, while we watch it grow and endeavor to collect it from people who aren't paying it. Otherwise, you're penalizing people who are willing to pay the tax because you want more money from it without making a serious effort to collect it more uniformly. So that's my point.
First of all, there's not a large, I don't think it's a large amount of people not doing it. And like, I would very much, another thing we don't know that, so I don't think it's a large number. There are people that are not doing it. As you worry about decreasing the occupancy tax, I keep throwing to you, you could help clean up the town if we put a bottle tax in. You don't want to have a bottle tax.
That's an issue of the state of Virginia, the whole state of Virginia.
It's the same thing.
Okay.
Our people have to
Have
worry.
you heard me say whether I'm for or against?
You're
that
not
councilman?
for it, I know that,
I
you
think
said
you're
that.
going apples and oranges.
Thank you, okay.
So,
All right, we're
I'm
trying
glad
to
you're for
set-
having a tax increase 2 years in a row here.
That's not,
Frank?
doesn't
And
affect
then,
you.
yes,
That's propaganda.
Both of them, please.
and then
Be civil.
the last one, I was being civil.
Both of you.
And then if you're going to, I can count the numbers, I can do the figures here. And if you're going to do the tax, would you not at least respect the fact that it ought to maybe go into January 1 and not have everybody have to go make it to, have to go back go back and contact customers, the ones who are particular about their bills. And I know some people aren't, but to me, that's just, it's not warranted, not fair, and the tax increase, not necessary if we hold the line on hiring.
You made a lot of good points, Frank, and I agree with a lot of them.
Be careful.
I think the comments about the budget are premature, since we've only had one meeting, and, the budget isn't established yet. And I agree with you 100%, we ought to work not only to balance it, but to reduce it. And however we do that, whether it's holding the line on hiring, or whatever it is, not buying vehicles, I agree with you, we should do that. But I still think that this transient occupancy tax is a separate issue, and I haven't heard, other than the one person that wrote in, anybody say they were opposed to it, so. And I think the fact that it's incremented, there were three values given between 0.7 cents and 1.7 cents, and I was, while I was sitting on the bridge watching the fire, I sent an email in with my thoughts on this, but nobody got it. But I was for the 0.7% increase, and I don't think it ought to be a burden, and at that rate, I've talked to a number of the hoteliers and B&Bs in town and gotten their opinion on it. I didn't hear any of them say that they would be opposed to a 0.7%, not even one. So, but I agree with a lot of your points on the budget, and we have that yet ahead of us to deal with.
Well, that's part of my point, is that if you're successful with the budget, why do you feel you have to have yet another tax increase? You know, you've got it with the cart before the horse.
It's a
If
pass-through,
you-
but it's not a tax increase. It's just for those
Well,
specific.
it may be a pass-through, but it's still a tax increase. It's perhaps a pass-through tax
It's
increase.
to generate revenue for tourism.
Okay, but you want tourism.
I'm all in favor of tourism, I
They
think.
drink more beer.
I think we could accomplish that
I don't
within,
think, I don't
within our
think,
framework of a budget that doesn't raise taxes.
And once again, all we're doing tonight
Nothing to
is
do with the
setting a
budget.
public hearing. This is not the budget. You have like 6 more meetings.
I think I'm within my rights to mention the budget and how all this fits
We
together.
are.
So
We
I
are.
understand we're not
No
doing the budget. I've made my points and
Thank you.
I'm ready for your vote.
We're not voting, we're setting a public
You
hearing.
gonna vote to set a public hearing?
Yes, that's it.
Okay, then I'm ready for the vote.
Ah, you thought we were voting.
I did not, I can read the packet. I'm
Okay.
ready to vote against setting the public hearing.
All right, so do we
How about
have a
that?
motion? Do we have a motion?
You do.
A motion and a second. So we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor of setting a public hearing?
Wait a minute,
Well, but when we advertise for this public hearing, this needs to be determined, the language needs to
the
be.
language.
Right. And so you didn't write that one.
So if it remains all to, that's the way it remains, I just wanna make sure that I have,
It's not,
I'm not in favor of this language.
so we need to,
so then
I
we're
mean,
We need to adjust it.
continue to discuss.
What is the reason why you're not in favor of the language?
Because it says that it will be totally allocated to tourism related.
Well, so that you're creating an opportunity that you collect the tax and do something else with it.
That's right.
Well,
Okay.
Well, to that note, we collected this year, $52,474 in our current budget. This year, out of that, our current budget projected revenues, which we will, looks like we will go over for our current budget anticipated for this year and the revenue.
can people hear her? No?
And the revenue.
Put the microphone, come on.
That's better.
Okay. The revenue is in the general fund. Currently, in this year's budget, we contributed $17,491 to the Tourism Commission, $10,000 to fireworks. All this, the contributions that I'm listing are in the town manager's budget, which is offset by all the revenue in the general fund. $2,500 to Art Center Challenge Grant Match, $12,500 to the second year of Our Town Grant Match, 1,000 Tall Ship Festivals, and also $18,600 to the fire department, which is not the tourism piece that, but they are all contributions. And in previous years, we've done contributions for other organizations in the museum that were not tourism related. Does not mean that we won't still be able to, it doesn't necessarily mean it comes from one specific revenue, because there's several different revenue pieces, but to make sure everybody understands that by designating to all tourism related initiatives, we will find the other funds for the fire department, you know, in a different area. I mean, we have to support the fire department, and all the other, you know, tourism-related initiatives that we've continued to support over the years, which are all the ones we talked about, tonight and in previous work sessions, including the website, tourism, and that would be, going through the budget process for this year, we would, going through the budget process for this year, we would evaluate all those requests, the website, and tourism commission, and all the tourism related, out of this allocated, you know, funds going forward. And then the fire department or anything else that might not be tourism related, we would find, you know, through our other means of revenue as a part of the.
Of the ones that you listed, the only one that is not tourism related is the volunteer fire department.
Right, right. And that was 18.6 this year.
Right, and they're asking for more than,
Right.
So it's not
No,
taking the
And
money.
the museum in the past, they've asked for, you know, the roof or different things.
That's tourism.
But we're sort of,
They are,
they're the welcome
yeah.
center, so
They
that,
are, yeah,
they
they
are
are,
tourism
right,
related.
right,
And,
exactly.
yeah, and we're
Right.
already,
Right.
So I have a question, has she talked you out of changing the language, or are you comfortable with it?
No.
I'm not comfortable with it.
because right now it doesn't include the volunteer fire company as a minimum. And
Should the volunteer fire department be a totally separate item? But now, he wants $25,000.
Should it be designated for anything?
I like it designated for a tourist thing.
No, we said tourism.
I think
it's
it's
gotta
a
be
tourist
designated.
Because you know what happens.
Maybe not all.
Not all of it.
We use it, no.
I disagree.
So what's the verdict? What are we gonna do? Tourism and what?
I have a tendency to go along with Steve. There could be some other reason. We may want to have another use, but I can't think of it right now, but it has crossed my mind, the possibility of using it for something else that indirectly could be
Tom, can you
related.
speak? People in the back.
Yeah.
This one.
I got it. I have tendency to concur with you as far as the exact amount that's gonna be placed to tourism. In other words, I tend to agree with you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Okay. All right. Having said that, I'm hoping that this could be something to be indirectly associated with tourism, since the tourism funds are coming from those persons who have these bed and breakfasts and places like that. So I don't know if we're ready to divvy it up or not, but I'm just thinking about it. And the language.
Yeah, the language has to be set before we can
So-
set the public hearing.
That's the only problem I have is with the language.
I think our county is giving a huge chunk of the money for the tourism commission. Accomack is not, I don't know if it's true or not, they're not, where are we, 14? Accomack County is 86,000 supposedly, 39%. Northampton County is paying $114,000, 723 cents, 51% of the tourism budget. Cape Charles is paying to the Tourism Commission $17,491, 7%. We give $5,000 to the Cape Charles Welcome Center, I believe, is that true?
yes.
Yeah, last
That's-
year.
that's-
Not this year.
Not this
Except
year,
for
okay.
last
The town of Nantucket gives $2,750. We're giving a huge chunk of our money to the tourism commission, which I think is a good thing, but I think the proportions have to be in. The fire department, we've got to support our fire department, I have to say that. And I asked him if we raise the taxes on the fire department, no. I mean, to get money for them, which is a big decision. We've never gotten a fire tax, which other cities have. And it's important, they struggle, I mean, they gotta buy equipment, one tire, you know, is a month's budget.
So you're in favor then of changing the wording to include and/or fire?
Well, I was wondering whether or not we could maybe modify it so that, for example, 75% goes to tourism-related initiatives. This is all within the town, and the remaining 25% is designated for needs to support the community needs. Like, if that would, or just go into the general fund based on the council's recommendation.
How about the word et cetera?
That's too.
You gotta have something
I don't
else.
think you can do it, can you?
Nonprofit.
You could say nonprofit, because the fire company is a nonprofit.
There you go.
Thank you.
I have a question.
All the nonprofits get them, so that's.
But then it
Yeah,
gives
I'm
you
okay
some,
with that.
that's okay.
We've been giving to nonprofits for a long time,
Right.
until this past year.
We didn't last, we're the
Because we
only
didn't have
town that
the-
gives to the nonprofits.
But that's because we didn't have the money, our choices were,
I had a question, Chris. In checking this out, do you know what the other towns and counties do with all of their money, or do they
Where, in the-
dedicate
in the
all?
state? In the state?
Do they dedicate all of the funds to just tourism?
In the state or just on the shore?
Sure.
Nantucket gives, I don't know about it, I just know they give, what is it, $2,000, and we gave $17,000.
because they, how about we change the wording to,
Say
shall be
tourism and
allocated
or.
for tourism-related and nonprofit initiatives, and not designate percentages, just gives you some flexibility. That thing covers the fire company, which is my big red flag right now.
And the fire company going through the budget may end up, you know.
Doesn't have to come out of here
Right.
necessarily,
Right.
but at least this gives us the option to do that.
Are you good with that, Steve?
Mhm.
Okay. Are you okay with that, Frank?
He's opposed
No,
to that.
I'm okay with just leaving it as it is and not buying the pickup truck. And I know how we can save an extra
Right.
$100,000.
No, we would
If
do
we
that
use the
as
money
a-
for the pickup truck to cover the expenses that would be made up here, then that comes directly from the taxpayers in this town.
A tax they're already paying, not an increased tax.
The town taxpayers are paying the transient occupancy tax?
No,
I'm not saying that.
that's what we're
That's
discussing.
what I'm hearing. What I'm hearing is, don't raise this,
I'm-
don't raise any additional funds, don't buy a truck, put that money towards more tourism initiatives. Well, then it's coming out of the
Well,
taxpayers'
I'm
pocket
arguing
as
that
opposed to
the
somebody
tax
else's.
is sufficient where it is, and if the town wasn't looking to buy new trucks every around, that you have money that you can allocate to these
We aren't
initiatives.
necessarily buying any trucks.
Save that
Okay,
money.
well,
for the-
okay.
That's a
I
wish
plan to
list.
hold-
We've heard
hold you to
Let's
that.
save
I plan on
that for
holding you to
the,
that, Councilman.
but, the budget meeting. All right. So, we're good on
No,
all
we're
the
not. No.
I'm asking.
Greatest, I think that the fifth whereas is where you're.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Therefore be it ordained.
We're looking in therefore be it ordained paragraph.
Okay.
The very last line, where it says tourism-related initiatives, I'm suggesting tourism-related and nonprofit.
Related to tourism.
Tourism-related and nonprofit initiatives.
That's fine. I agree with that.
I disagree.
I disagree.
I think it's the,
I don't know.
I think it's coming
still
out of
disagree.
tourism
I do disagree.
and use the money to advertise the town, to make the town has become a destination from all over the world. And now, and we eat by every year. I think the Tourism Commission should get some money from us, I do believe that. But I think we should try to do everything we can to promote tourism. It's my business, and it's my business, it's all the little shops business. We have another shop opening up in the hotel. There are 3 new shops opening up downtown, and let the business, I don't wanna see, I want the money to stay.
You know, I don't vote, but I have to say that the way it is worded is the way we discussed, and when we had this conversation, we were only talking about tourism, what is that?
Amber Alert,
Oh,
Is it?
child.
okay, we were talking about tourism, and we never brought up, fire company, we would take, no, not that discussion we had. So I think we should leave it as it is. But you guys, either way, we have to get the wording straight so we can set a public hearing. So you decide.
Well, it doesn't mean that you still can't use it all, but we were just leaving another mechanism
It
to hold
opens the
some
door.
back.
I know, I see both sides. Don't look at me, everyone.
I wanted to see it
Well, we have a motion and a second on the floor. We've had
I have a
discussion.
question of the 5 of you that are in favor of this. You have any trouble with the April 17th date?
No.
Everybody's in agreement on the date.
Yes, before
It's
the
just,
next
it's just the
council
last
meeting.
sentence that's the problem,
Yeah.
okay.
No, that was one of my next questions, effective date.
I think.
Where
So-
was it?
That's the public hearing.
The public hearing is the 17th.
Yeah,
Right.
that's it.
Right.
He wants to know if we have any trouble with that.
I
No
don't
one
know.
does. No one does. But we have trouble with the wording.
No, we just have a couple of proposals.
All right, so figure it out.
Would you like to talk about the effective date of the ordinance? Or would you like to talk about that in public hearing?
In my case,
Shouldn't that be part of the ordinance?
in my case, nobody ever asked what the tax is when you book a reservation in there.
When the state increased the tax to from
I didn't.
5 point, what?
I just increased it.
I'm asking a question. When the state increased the tax from 5 to 5.3, how much time did they give everyone?
I don't know, we just added it all.
How much time, Mike?
It was
a
months,
month?
I recall it being at least 6 months with publications and emails notifying us of when the changes were going to go into effect.
Okay. Make it January 1st.
No, I would. We didn't. But the Amelia didn't.
So we agree on setting a public hearing?
But we haven't voted on it yet.
No, because we don't have the wording.
Right.
Well, we have to, we have a work.
You have a work session at your house. And then
I don't have a problem with state personally. And as long as we can cover the
I'm not
volunteer
so sure
fire
everybody
companies.
can hear you.
Oh,
Do you want to move on and come back to this?
no.
No.
And over.
Yes,
I
I
don't
want to
have-
get it over.
I don't have a date, an issue with the date personally, but, and if we can be sure that we can fund at some level, I'm not saying what level, the volunteer fire company somewhere else. I could go with this, but I just wanna make sure that we aren't hurting them.
I don't think we are, because we get through the budget process, that'll be a priority among other considerations.
Okay.
Is there any further discussion?
Well, what are we gonna put in as the wording?
What's the wording?
We're reading it.
Now, you have a date for the public hearing, but you don't have a date that it takes effect. Is that correct? Everybody read it that way?
We're looking for a date and.
To make it effective?
As I understand it, under the state,
Talk
the
into
state
the
calls it,
mic.
I may be incorrect, but when you pass an ordinance, it takes effect immediately, unless it's specified otherwise. So if we vote on this on April 25th, I'm picking the day, and pass it, then it takes effect that immediately. But if we want it to take effect July 1st, then we have to say so in the ordinance. So, or do we want to do that?
Sound reasonable?
I mean, that's the way I understand the process. So if we're going to change the date of effect, we have to state it.
I'd say immediately.
Well, Joe?
You can vote on it, you don't have to listen to what I have to say.
It has to go in this draft. Okay, immediate or not immediate?
Like every other ordinance, I'd say immediately.
I say July 1st. It's 2.
Does the town change its code by doing
Excuse
tax?
me, no ma'am, no ma'am.
Is that how the
Stop.
town changes
Dory?
code? This is town
Sit
code, and
down.
you've got track
Dory.
changes.
Officer, tell it up. All right, so. Is that Sam?
We have a July 1st.
We have July 1st,
All right, then.
or immediate.
I think immediately.
I'm looking, middle ground said July 1st.
We say July 1st. Steve?
I said July 1st.
Okay.
I can live with July 1st.
July, Chris?
Immediate.
3 July, sir? July or immediate? for July's? I know. Okay, so July 1st in the wording.
And the wording is the same, correct?
Yes.
Not according to me, but I'm
Yes.
getting outvoted.
I think you're also got the right. All right, so we have a motion to keep the verbiage the same, effective July, public hearing on the 17th. All in favor? All in favor? Raise your hand. Anyone opposed? 2. Thank you so much. The next item. The next item is the only one this evening that is not an action item. It's very dear to my heart, so I'll try to be brief. It's in your packet. Northampton County Ad Hoc Emergency Care Committee report. Last year, in March of 2013, I sent a letter to all of the mayors in Northampton County requesting that we join forces and ask the county to put out an RFP, I hate abbreviations, request for proposal. And that we figure out by the time the hospital moves, and this was after 2.5 years worth of work by the small committee, what our plan would be when that hospital finally builds and moves to Accomack. I heard back from every mayor saying go forward except for Nasuadas, which was really surprising to me. So we had all the support from all the mayors except for the one. So then we sat down and sent those signatures to the county administrator and said, you're tasked to put out an RFP. And I don't know a whole lot about RFPs, but I know we did one for a restaurant at the harbor, and you just put it out there, and then they come to you, and then you bargain, you plead, you do whatever you do to make it work for everybody. But they didn't do that. The Board of Supervisors decided to form their own ad hoc committee, and they came, and you have the report tonight, they came up with all the reasons why it won't work. And I could let that lie, but we live here, and we are all getting older. Our parents are here, and Jen's not getting older. It's very, very important to me. So my goal this evening is to ask you, since you are the members that vote, I do not. For next month, I would like to put on the agenda, to put out an RFP and let it be an action item. And then you decide whether or not you think it is worth even looking into. And we have had some offers of land. We don't know what, we came up with numbers and we said, well, it probably would cost $1 million, let's say $1 million. The county says it's not affordable, but they came up with $866,000, pretty close. And that's for an ambulance and 15 more EMTs. I think we need that anyway, just my opinion, sorry not to include you. So I would like you to ask questions, and this evening I invited Mr. Lawrence. Peter, you here? In the back, who has sat with me from the very first meeting. And the idea was the hospital's moving, now what? So either your only choice is now, you go to the light and turn right. That's it. You have no other choice. Oh, by the way, it never happens. They're having a hurricane. And if you don't think this affects real estate, you're wrong. It affects real estate because people are getting older that are moving here. If they have school-age children, they say, tell me about schools. But everyone that's coming say, tell me about the hospital. Where is it? Well, it's 20 miles up the road. But oh, by the way, it's going to be 40. So I would like you to, feel free, Peter, if you want to stand up, come forward, add what I have missed. Feel free to ask questions, but it will be on the agenda next month. That much I can control. Where you vote, I can't. So
What would be be the RFP for specifically, or is that up for debate?
Peter, what would the RFP be for? We have more options than we started out.
Well, the group realized that probably the least expensive thing we could do to create a facility where if there was a trauma incident, an ambulance picked you up at your house and they could get you stabilized in an emergency room setting, is a freestanding emergency department. There's a that's open 24/7. There's a variety of ways you can staff it with board certified or not. There's an option where it's not open from like midnight till 7 in the morning. And that's kind of, generally speaking, the slow period for those kinds of things. But the point is that we're gonna need something, because if I'm in Bay Creek or if I'm at the corner here at Bay Mason and you have a traumatic incident in maybe 2 or 3 years, you are going to be very close to being beyond, if not way beyond, the golden hour that they want you to have that. And that's if that ambulance is right there when you have the incident. God forbid it has to spend 15 minutes to get to you. So the idea is, as I understand the mayor's request, she's asking the council to consider approving some request for proposal that would go out to organizations that do these kinds of things and tell them what would they need to come to our area. And the reason we're looking for this is we don't know all the numbers. We've done a lot of work. We don't know what they would need. We know the hospital's leaving because they're not making money. So we know this is probably, we know it's not a profit-making operation for whoever comes in here. But, so there will be some kinds of subsidy. Can we get generous individuals to help build the place? Can we take some of the money that the county was looking at spending to emergency room, emergency EMT, and use that as part of a subsidy for this? There are people in this county already making charitable donations to the foundation that we think the hospital is taking. Could they then use that? Could there be a section of private donations? So, as I understand the mayor, she's asking for a proposal to go out, probably written by people that have some good experience in this, so that the town of Cape Charles can understand what the options are. Because if the county doesn't do it, at some point the southern half, this becomes not only medical, it becomes economic development. We already know there are stories as the mayor pointed out, people who come into this town looking at places like Bay Creek, looking at renovating beautiful historic homes here, and when they realize that in 2 years that hospital goes up there, they leave. So hopefully that clarifies things a little bit.
No, that did, thank you. What about the help with writing grants? What did you, he had never stopped working.
There's just we have people, you asked for volunteers, there's people in our group, people who are on the ad hoc committee in the county right now, people who have worked to help build on behalf of medical organizations, these things, who are willing to help the county craft this proposal, so that when it goes out, if people do respond, and there are various types of organizations responding, if we get answers back that are things that we can evaluate and understand, that we get apples to apples. And we may not be able to afford it, period, but we ought to know, with all these priorities that we have in the county, we ought to at least know what this priority might cost us. If somebody said, we'll come in and do this, but we need this kind of operating subsidy, or this kind of subsidy to help build it.
And then whenever the decision, I'll be at peace, I just want closure on this. So you have the information, keep it, ask questions, it will be on April's agenda. You have any other question? It's not an action item.
Yeah, I'm still confused as to what's going to be on April's agenda.
An RFP for a freestanding, probably a freestanding emergency room. I'll get the
How do
word.
you propose to fund it? It's a request for proposals for someone to come and build something?
Yes.
And then who's going to pay for it?
But it depends.
Well, that's a pretty important thing.
Right, it
If you're going
is.
to put an RFP out,
Yeah.
if you want to put a no-cost RFP out to get somebody to tell you how much it's going to cost, I don't know
Well,
that
we're
you get
working
any
on that too,
response
but
for
Steve, we put out an RFP for the shanty. We didn't put money aside. We gave, like, proffers.
So you think somebody's just going to come build it?
You know what? It's America. Pardon me?
We don't know.
Be careful. It's going to be on the agenda, and I will get as much information together and leads that I have. But we haven't gotten this far, and we waited 6 months for the county to decide what they thought was viable or not. And you shut me down, and I'll be fine. But I will have said that we went this far.
Okay, can I ask you, now what did the county state that they thought was viable? What was their conclusion?
It's in your packet. They said, Hilo Pads, they said we didn't have the population, but I've always questioned the census report because Bay Creek altogether has land allotted for 3,300 people. 3,000 people. So when they do a census report, they only, residents, homes. But when they take the census report, they only add the people that live here full-time. We're very unique because it's growing. It's like half the people are here part-time. Our streets are empty. I know my block is, but those homes are, they're taxed. But those people aren't here to count in the numbers. So just be prepared. This will come next month. Okay? Thank you for your time.
I'd like to make a comment. I think that's a good idea. I was kind of reading into where you're going with this, and I think if you feel the county stopped short, and if we asked for the RFPs and then got them and then had them revisit with us for their reconsideration of what might be possible, take a second look at the report with the additional information. Because I'm pretty sure that this is going to have to be a county-wide initiative, not a Cape Charles. But I commend your effort or stick-to-itness here to try to get another way to get the subject back, get it on our table, and maybe take it back up. Maybe go visit the Board of Supervisors or have a joint public hearing with the Board of Supervisors on it.
And the county will be revisiting the recommendations next month. They're supposed to, administrator's supposed to submit a plan of action based on the committee's recommendation, based on the committee's recommendation.
Did you say the county came up with 866,000?
665,000.
Okay, well, you talked them into it. Got it. So
I did.
there's hope.
There's hope, yeah, but there's hope because they're willing for their citizens to spend that money for one ambulance, and they're outrageous. It's like the fire trucks, and also for more EMTs. Still not gonna help you in the Golden Hour. Just saying. Okay,
Well,
we're
that's a
moving
start.
on. Moving on. Action item, acquisition of fixed street lots. And thank you, Mr. Lawrence, for enduring.
A little history. Tonight before you is a resolution for consideration of acquisition for 7 parcels on Fig Street. In 2010, the town council entered into a lease agreement with Bay Creek LLC to lease 7 parcels at the corner of Fig Street and Randolph. With the first, as a part of the terms of the agreement, the town would have first right of refusal to purchase the property if Bay Creek decided to sell the property. The town did receive notification with a offer as first right to purchase the property prior to putting out the property on the market to sell. Town council has previously discussed the offer and reached a general consensus to move forward to purchase the 7 parcels at $100,000. The Cape Charles Comprehensive Plan adopted in June 2009 recommends the intersection of Fig and Randolph Avenue to be utilized for a future roundabout, and also currently maintaining open space at the same time. The proposal is to purchase the 7 lots for $100,000. And currently, in our current budget, we are under budget in the Cape Charles Community Trail Project, which is not funded through any bonds. It's actually funded through the general fund, which is to reallocate the $100,000 from that project to purchase the 7 lots.
make a motion that we.
You want the recommendation?
I would like to add, in addition to the information that is here before you, we, as a part of the purchase price, if council decides to move forward to execute a purchase contract, we are working on collections of the delinquent taxes by Bay Creek LLC. That is in the amount of $61,171. As a part of the purchase contract, a condition can be made if Mr. Foster agrees to the terms to be administered through an escrow account where we could be paid the taxes that is owed. We have no legal right to demand. We either would either purchase the lots with a condition and work towards having that condition met. He has to be agreeable to that condition. And if he's not, then the town council can decide not to purchase the lots.
So if you paid that amount, then what would the cost be?
The cost would end up being
$39,000.
Good sleuthing, Joe.
It was a citizen who asked me that question, but I have to admit that when I talked to the town, Paul, the town treasurer.
Mike.
Oh, I'm sorry, it was a citizen who asked me some questions recently about this issue. And one of the questions that he asked was whether or not there were any past tax still due. So I thought that was a very good question. So when I went home, I called the treasurer, acting treasurer, Paul, and I asked Paul whether or not the title holder of the 7 Fifth Street lots, whether or not that title holder had any delinquent taxes. We know it's not on those 7 lots because part of our lease was to pay the taxes. But did that owner have delinquent taxes on any other property?
He's a principal owner of that LLC.
Right, and so the bottom line answer from Paul was that because of the sale of what was Bay Creek Marina, Resort and Marina, to become Kings Creek, there is still some rematching of which properties are no longer Bay Creek and are now part of Kings Creek, okay, or have been sold as a part of some other entity. And they have to work with, they are now trying to determine which lots remain with Bay Creek LLC. And then those would be the ones that you would add up to say, maybe that's not quite as much delinquent, because some of them may be Kings Creek, I don't know, or some other entity.
And all our information comes from the county who.
Right, and we don't have access to the county's most current information either, so that creates it just creates a little bit of a time delay. Not that it's not not that we can't get that information, it's just a little bit more work involved.
Oh, that's great work.
Pardon?
That's great work.
Well, I have to thank Don Riley for bringing it to my attention. I mean,
but I would
and you know, he made me think about it, and then I followed through.
Well, and as you know, the council can decide either way whether he doesn't have to agree to it. But we had already started asking, talking to him, and I figured that through tonight, as a part of the condition, council can make that as a condition before the purchase and sales contract would be executed.
Comments?
Or you decide not to purchase.
Or don't purchase. That's right.
I don't have a problem with purchasing land. It doesn't have to be designated for a roundabout.
No.
Yeah,
That's irrelevant.
I have problems with the language in the resolution.
Oh.
I sent them in writing in advance. And it's the 2 whereas that discuss the future roundabout. I mean, the first one that says that the comprehensive plan adopted in 2009 recommends the intersection of Fig and Randolph to be utilized as a future roundabout. I'm okay with that, but I'm not okay saying that The reason we're buying this property is that we're going to maintain it until such time as VDOT builds this roundabout, because that could be never.
That's right.
So I don't think there should be any
Locked in.
condition of a roundabout having anything to do with the purchase of these lots, but now, with this new information, I also don't think that, you know, that this purchase should be conditioned with any back taxes need to be deducted from the purchase price of these lots.
And why is that?
Because I didn't know that there was back taxes prior to this.
Well, the fact that you didn't know about it doesn't mean the town isn't doing them, and this is a perfect time to collect them, if you're gonna go forward with this.
That's exactly what I just
That's what
said.
he says. That's what we're all
So-
agreeing.
so
The
you're-
condition of the purchase is that the back taxes be offset against the purchase price of the
Excuse
lots.
me, I thought you were saying something.
Which drops it to 30,000.
39,
38,000.
38,000.
Whatever, you know.
But it still doesn't mean we're foregoing, anyway, we're.
And it doesn't mean we're doing it, we're discussing.
And if you think about some of the things that were said tonight, particularly by Lenore, about basketball court, as a possibility for use of that, some of that land.
Dog park?
Whatever, I mean, but if you
Yeah.
say that it has to be held for a roundabout, I agree with you. That limits the use of that property extensively, and I'm not sure that that's in the town's best interest.
I think, like Steve says, I mentioned to Mr. Wendell this morning that the there's been no traffic jams or anything at Fig Street. The possibility of a roundabout is so far down the road. And also, I don't know if a lot of you know, in 1970, there's a flyover at Route 13 over the railroad tracks, which brings it down around into Route 184. VDOT still has that on the drawing board.
1970.
1970.
The last time I went to Virginia Beach, they had that beautiful roundabout.
Yeah.
I just want to keep on going like this.
Well, I don't
like
think,
it.
I had a problem with the roundabout, it was in there, but I mean, I would definitely take that out.
Well, okay, so we can fix that.
So what would you like to remove?
Now, where did the roundabout exist on the, whose plans?
On the
It's on
comprehensive
the
plan.
comprehensive plan, what we
And
discussed.
your
I guess
forefathers.
But
I'll-
VDOT had brought it up years ago.
It's in the VDOT 2020 plan as well.
Okay.
It's nothing we did.
And I mean, when we did discuss this, we also talked about any other slow moving, whether it was a roundabout or any other,
Traffic
slow
calming is the
solution.
word you.
I'll get rid, okay.
Yeah.
That's right.
Very calming.
Or turn lane or,
Yeah.
you know.
All right, come on.
All right, oh, how about this, how about I make a motion with some conditions?
Yes.
Okay, I make a motion that we purchase these 7 lots for $100,000 less the back taxes owed, which at tonight's meeting were stated to be $61,171. And I also move that we delete the 4th whereas, and we modify the 5th whereas to say the parcels are currently maintained as open space and contain the town's welcome sign and plantings. After purchase, the town plans to continue to maintain the parcels as currently used.
Is there any other intended use in the future? Anything you think of? Just remain open space?
No?
Well, and if something comes up that, you know, is a use of those lots, then we can discuss it and see if we want to do it.
The farmer's market's in the back.
I second the motion.
Okay, we have a first, we have a second. Any other discussion?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Okay.
Unless you want to, unless you engage the highway department to tell them you don't want the roundabout, you may well see one in the future, and they have one, a very odd one up at Tasley now. The language in the comprehensive plan incorporate traffic calming access management techniques for well over 100 years. And part of that involved the stop sign hitting east on Randolph Avenue. So there's a traffic calming technique that I've witnessed many near misses in the last 5 years, and I feel it's continues to be unwise not to have that there in a town that encourages walking, biking, and golf carts. And then, if we're gonna take another use, such as a basketball court, well, we do have already property for that, but if you were gonna even incorporate more activity there, more need to calm the traffic now, not wait for a roundabout in the future. But with that said, I guess I would ask council to, when we're looking at these agenda items, I mean, the preceding item, how the hospital moving, lack of emergency care affects our economy. And I'll throw in there the condition of our public education, high school system. But my point to that is, you're talking $100,000 that you could hold in reserve and use that to further emergency care. We have a tremendous need for parking in our downtown, traditional downtown commercial district, in the middle of it. If indeed we're going to hope to return the town to get the residences to make all our systems work more efficiently, and you're going to do everything possible to encourage tourism, where are they going to park? We've stripped away what little parking we had at the park, and now we're going to invest seemingly $100,000 in the lots coming in town. And yes, I love to see open space, green fields, but in my opinion, we move the welcome sign to the museum property and keep our money in our pocket and collect what back taxes we can, and have 100,000 plus whatever monies we can accrue in a contingency fund. So when the wish list comes about something that is direly as important as a healthcare in the community or parking in our business district, that we have those funds. I think this is an unwise purchase.
Are you finished?
Not necessarily, but you know, I'll see what else about what you say.
I think keeping open spaces as we come into town. You go into a Nancock, the approach into a Nancock is not nice. Plus their parking is probably worse condition than ours. Our stores are just about all filled. So, the idea of a large group of cars coming in that can't be handled. We did acquire with the library 2 lots behind, which would give you probably, 40 parking spots? I don't know parking spots. It's two town lots, whatever. Say 30 spaces, which is adjacent to downtown. Not right on the main street. So it answers it there. But I don't see a huge, traffic problem right now, or that far in the future, because there's no more room for more stores. There are 3 more opening downtown. So, and I think keeping the place clean, coming into town, having something attractive.
So where do you consider the entrance of town?
The town limits, because you come
Just the
in
town limits?
past the water tower, the scenic
See,
woods, the
I
silver
think
scene
our
there.
comprehensive plan in years past, and the often discussed corridor overlay from 20 years ago, that did not
Yes,
did not take effect.
I'm talking, you said right now, I'm talking now, coming into town,
Sure.
getting to the intersection, which is without a roundabout, going downtown. I think there's ample parking behind the library.
For all that we're projecting, we're supposed to be looking.
Well, we're
5
projected, but we
years,
have
10
to
years, 20 years.
we're going to have to have a bigger downtown.
Okay. All right. Well, I think the interest of town and the historic interest of town was lined with crepe myrtles from here to Route 13 intersection. And as testimony to that, our town public works group goes out there and has done a great job trimming the trees back and maintaining
That
that.
makes it look good, but we
Okay,
don't
so
own
if
that
so my
land.
point is I'm making, now can I talk just for get a few sentences? Do a little bit of this, thank you. Is that, if you're that concerned, and I think we should be, then why didn't the town should be as concerned with the commercial zoning that now extends from the intersection all the way up to Parsons Siding on the north side, as well as detracting from our entrance. We're trimming the trees on one side, but the town doesn't write letters or hasn't taken a position that I know about but whether or not they're in favor of that commercial zoning that's taking place.
That was a big thing years ago. Fought it.
I'm not talking years ago, I'm talking about, it's, the debate is going on. Right now, there's been meetings, there was a 4.5-hour public hearing, I've done that would run past a lot of people's bedtimes, but anyway.
Frank, may I say something? The first part of your discussion just now is great. Keep on that mood. It's good. Don't throw the sarcasm in.
Okay.
I can keep up with you when you talk like that,
Well,
and I'm
thank you,
listening.
Mayor. Thank you.
I'm listening.
I got you.
Okay, good.
Anyway, 10.5, I've been thinking 10.5 million, I didn't know it was 11.79, and I'm glad to have the accurate number. I sure hope that our collective equity remains at 409 million. But you can't borrow yourself out of debt. Wait, no, let me finish some statements here now. You can't borrow yourself out of debt, you can't spend yourself out of debt. We need to do things, we need to make smart decisions that's going to stimulate the economy and get more visitors and more full-time residents. And I think that our 100,000 can be better spent elsewhere.
Well, we have a motion. You could also table it if you are in agreement. So we have a motion?
In a second.
Yes. Do we have a second?
We do.
We do?
Yeah, we do. If you don't,
It was
I
you,
do.
wasn't it?
That's all.
We have a motion with the changes to the section 4 that Mr. Bennett. Did you get all that, those 2 changes? We have 3 changes. Motion, we have a second. All in favor, roll call. Oh,
Yes.
never mind, roll call vote.
That, yes.
Natalie, yes.
Sullivan, yes.
Bannon, yes.
I'm going
Wendell, no.
All right, one more, and then you get to do the mayor's discussions. The next item is the name for the former library building.
This name.
The next agenda item is for discussion, name for a former library building, through various research on the history of the library that Jen went through, and trying to come up with some ideas of what, instead of continuing to refer to the former library building, the council has deemed
Excuse me, Heather, could you speak more into the microphone,
the
please?
council has deemed the former library building to be a meeting hall and a place where organizations can gather, recreation programs can be done by a recreation coordinator. And we wanted to get on the table for discussion of possible names and what the council had any ideas. A number of names were discussed relative to the history of the building, as Jen has explained in the staff summary. We also came up with Cape Charles Meeting Hall, a recreation hall, Civic Center, Cape Charles Civic Center. We wanted to just throw some ideas on.
Every name we came up with kind of lent confusion to the public about what the actual use of the building was. We, came up with town hall, but with the municipal building, we were just scared that it would, everybody be coming there to pay their water bill. Community center, I don't think we have all the resources to have a fully active community center, so I think we needed to be mindful of that. Our historical, we really couldn't find a historical name to fit the significance of the building, so that was a difficult situation. So we just went very basic for what the building is gonna mainly be used for.
Cassette Road, Cassette Hall.
Cassette Hall.
We're not naming it after you.
Oh, my.
I don't know, it's a hard thing, when I saw
It
the
is
thing.
very, we've had many discussions, I've got a whole
Can
list
we
of
ponder it
names.
for another month and throw it amongst ourselves?
I don't think the building's going anywhere, right?
Yeah,
It's not going-
yeah, no.
I think we're wasting our time
And
until we really can get together and
if anyone
talk.
has any suggestions, I believe we put it on the, I think we put it out there to,
I would suggest that whatever we call it, we don't call it a hall,
Yeah.
because it isn't.
right.
It's tough, isn't it?
It's,
It is.
because
And I'll be happy to send you the list of names that we've come up with to date, if you wanna look over those and see how you feel about that. The history is very hard to, track, you know, we found Libby's gone, but Libby was a huge help.
Well, you know, we thought about having contests or having, you know, different ideas.
That may be good, it would draw interest. And they could go for a weekly Saxes, that'd be good.
Now, if you held public meetings, I mean, a civic center, recreation center and all, it has a larger, more active connotation. I mean, when I read the recommendation, I mean, it's pretty basic, Cape Charles Meeting Hall. Now, what is your idea of
It could
a
be
meeting hall? I mean, I think it should be, the name should
Say something.
honor its past. And I think it should have Cape Charles, and it is gonna be the Cape Charles Meeting Hall.
I agree.
Meeting Hall, now,
I
you don't
agree
call it
with you.
meeting hall, you call it meeting what?
Center.
I don't know if it's a meeting is the right word. You know, that's the
Gathering.
word that I'm struggling
Okay.
with, because meeting,
You like the first two, Cape Charles?
I do, very much.
Okay.
Like the last one to be center.
I'd like to end up agreeing with you tonight, Councilman. That'd be
Thank you,
good.
I'd like for you to agree with me too.
So I think Cape Charles,
Something. Go to the thesaurus.
I like that.
What about
I'd have
just Cape
to look
Charles Center? Cape Charles Center.
I think it reflects, I think it looks more like a hall to me than a center.
It's gonna be used.
Meeting place?
No, it's just, it doesn't say anything.
I just call it the old library.
Well, that's pretty much where everybody's gonna say, but I think Cape Charles should be the first two words.
Okay, I agree.
Maybe somebody can help us with the appropriate
Why
third or
don't we
fourth one.
postpone it for a month, talk about this ourselves?
I make a motion, we table this.
Thank you. Second.
Discussion.
I like what you just said.
Okay.
I'm ready for the vote.
Hearing no objections, we're gonna hold this off for another month to discuss the names. Hearing no objections? Next month. You got that look like I've hit you with my spotlight in hunting.
Like to hear everybody agree or not?
Okay, what's next? Next is mayor and council comments. I just want to make an observation. We're coming up for the election year. Is it going to be a dirty election? Is it going to be a constructive election? So far, the things I've seen, it's going to be extremely, I think, dirty election. It's going to be a hard election, but I like to have an election where there's truth put out there, and we have no vehicle for truth. I will say that the electronic edition of the thing that we get could be Pravda or Observatore Romano, the Vatican newspaper. It's all giving a slanted issue on everything. I've sat through meetings here. We've been called liars. Basically, you know, totally babbling idiots, and I am a babbling idiot, I will admit that. I will take all that to myself. But to sit and look at the things that are being said, the innuendos, the glossing, I don't know, it's just, it's not a nice thing. I mean, I saw Air Baldwin take our reporter, not you, Ron, when he came to a meeting about the, what was it? The Southport, about the Port Authority grant, said, come, Dory, sit next to me and tell the truth. Basically like that. He said it a number of times, and he would emphasize, write it this way. So I would ask Dory to open up the newspaper for a very open, non-biased, truthful, to-the-point newspaper. Because it's not nice. And I could go back to something very old that my mother used to say, God doesn't like ugly.
I didn't know we're supposed to start talking
Buddha
about
doesn't like,
models.
Muhammad doesn't like ugly, and humankind doesn't like ugly. So keep the battle fair, keep the battle just. George goes down to Dora's. Well, the little thing in the paper. Oh, George is cahooting with Dora. God knows you think it was all kinds of, things going back and forth. She is the mayor. I think he has the right, but I don't think they were having a political strategy meeting. Just be generous.
I went in there to speak to Dora, and she said, don't come here, not here, not
Well, we're not talking about you going there.
Well,
George
yeah,
went-
so I'm not allowed to go to talk to Dora.
I can't help that.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm just, that's what I'm saying and if people agree with me, please let it be known you agree. Okay? That's all. Next.
I guess I'll put my 2 cents in. With regard to the budget and trying to save money and all this, I don't want to grandstand, I just want to talk about it. I just want to tell you, you can have innuendos, you can say you need to cut this. Till you put a figure out there, there's not much you can do. So if you really want to be sincere, if we're going to be sincere about cutting this budget, put some numbers out there. So we can shoot at it. I mean, just saying we're gonna get rid of this or that. You got $11 million a budget, and you're gonna get rid of 2 cars, or you're gonna get rid of 2 people. What's that gonna do? If you really wanna cut it, let's throw some numbers out. Let's put $250,000 out there and tell the staff, look, this is what we wanna do. We wanna take $200,000 out this year. I don't care what you do with it, and then come back with it and say, how many heads gotta roll, how many cars, how many everything's gotta go, how many programs gonna be cut. Put it out there. And then you don't have to be guessing. We don't have to, check. I don't have to give you an idea what you ought to cut. How many grass cutters you don't need to buy this year. Get the numbers out. If you want to go with more, if somebody else wants to go with more than $200,000, let's do it. But just jumping around, it doesn't do much. Maybe I'm wrong, but this is where I feel. You want to cut this budget, tell the staff how much you want to cut out of it, and go with it. We won't have to sit around here and talk about it all every meeting. And that's too.
Well, I guess I have a question. Do you think any of the spending should be leveled off? Any of the hiring should be frozen? Do you have a figure that you feel will be appropriate to cut from spending to put into a contingency fund?
You talking to me?
I'm looking at it for the whole group.
I'm very liberal. I'm gonna buy that piece of land there, and I'm gonna buy those lots down there that we need on the front street. That's, that.
I don't think this is for debating amongst ourselves tonight. I think this is basically each person giving their opinion. That's how I interpret this. So I don't want any interaction. State what we think. I stated what I said. You stated what you said, what you wanted.
My turn?
Yes, 5 minutes.
Now, the risk of being redundant, I would like to expound on the good news of the bike. I went to the county planning commission meeting last night, and every time I go up there, I grab a handful of their rail to trails brochures, and I got a pile of them on the front seat of my car, and I kind of try to hand them out. I think that's a great program. I've stated before where I've seen that work on the western part of the state. And commend Mr. Testerman to following up, and I think that would be a huge benefit to the town. I don't know if all the folks who have moved here more recently, but there was an initiative 20 years ago to develop a trails program here in Oldham County. I think it was 1992. And at the time, it did not garner enough support from the county board of supervisors, so the initiative was dropped. But that they was going to bring state and federal money to run a bicycle trail, basically from the Cape Charles stoplight all the way down. And 20 years later, we've managed to run 3 miles of it perhaps, and I think it's cost the county a couple, I don't know, it's cost significant, I don't know that figure offhand, but we could have had it, as I understood the project, basically for free, and all we had to do is take over the maintenance. And that was a tough one to let go of back then, but here it seems to be coming back around 24 years later. And I think we should do all we can to support it. And that would bring, we talk about, well, all we can do to bring tourists, that would bring a lot of tourists to downtown Cape Charles, and be a family opportunity, but also to be gateway from the state park. And hopefully it could go through the, I think downtown Churton could use the help as well. Maybe it could be a way for visitors to come from the state park into downtown Cape Charles and Churton, as well as come out of the campground, Cherry Stone campgrounds, and come into the downtowns of Cape Charles and Churton. So I'll make sure I expound on what I'm for, and I'm definitely for a bike trail. I also think the Artisan Trail Initiative is a tremendous opportunity, and I think Cape Charles should be the southern hub of the Artisan Trail that would run the eastern shore, with emphasis obviously on wherever it leads. But I would think Cape Charles, Nancock, and I guess Chincoteague all linked with the eastern shore Artisan Trail. So I think that would be a very big positive development for Cape Charles. And the young lady who mentioned the farmers market, I think that's an excellent idea. I thought that was a wonderful idea that we could facilitate. Again, I know people are excited about the extra land and the new routes, and I think, if that's what we're going to do, then that's an expensive garden, but if that's, anyway, that's, I like the idea of the farmers market. Again, hopefully we can budget ourselves efficiently and maybe try to move that initiative along as well. And I think the farmers market belongs in the downtown historic commercial area of Cape Charles. Bring people to downtown. They'll figure out where the harbor is. So let's get them downtown. And what else here? I'm working without notes now, so put a seatbelt on it. I echo your sentiments, Councilman, as everybody have a positive discussion of ideas and interchange of ideas going forward to the May election. Continue to have reservations about the recent purchase and the borrowing and the $11.79 million and hopefully our real estate values will hold at the next assessment, so that our debt to value ratio will remain healthy. But I fear that it might not be that way. And I guess, let's see, the idea of this tourism committee, I mean, at that meeting I had asked that the people present speak, so we wouldn't have confusion about that. I mean, if that's a vehicle to move us forward, and I'm open-minded to that. I kind of thought that was, I didn't want, you can wear people out with having too many committees, but if we've got the volunteers to staff a committee, and all they do is bring us recommendations of which we choose from, and they're helping us think for what's the best ideas out there, then I'm not, I'm open-minded to whatever committees we need to make this, to make Cape Charles a better town.
15 seconds. About 5 minutes.
I'm finished.
You can't bank your time. Next. No? Joan?
I like the idea of trying to see if we can get a bar. Excuse me. I like the idea of trying to see if we get a farmer's market going in town. I think that's great. And I like the fact that we're going to see the path come into town. I think that's great. I like having heard that we have construction ongoing and more starting. That to me is great. I'm almost afraid to say that I think things are looking up for the town. But I think they are. I mean, there are very few storefronts on Mason Avenue right now that aren't either operational or in the process of becoming operational. That's good news, you know, and we've got people who are thinking about starting businesses here. That's good news. So I guess I'm pretty happy right now from a town forward-looking point of view, and I just would like to see us continue to do what we can to move it forward. I know that Southport, Cape Charles Yacht Center, is supposed to open sometime in the April timeframe. That's good news. That means we've got another business in town that's going to employ more people. It's going to bring mega yachts ultimately into town. That's got to be good for us. One would hope so anyway. So Bay Shore seems to be gearing up. They've got contracts and they're bringing on more employees, and they're looking forward to bringing on more employees, so I think that's good. I guess the only other point I'd make is, and it's more of a rhetorical question, I see orange flags on the north side of Stone Road. And I was just wondering if those were pegs for possibly doing the sidewalk. And they are, because we had talked about that. So that is something, pardon?
It's in our current budget.
It's in our current budget and it's gonna happen. And I think that's good news, because we're worried about the people from Heritage Acre getting safely into town, and extending that sidewalk to Fifth Street, I think is great. That's all I have to say.
I did have one thing I wanted to say. Frank made a good point, not just one Frank, but a particular point I want to comment on. When we were talking transit occupancy tax, one thing we didn't address was this committee, other than to say there was an idea for one. And I'm fully supportive of that as well, along the lines that, as Frank discussed it, that it is an advisory body, similar to any of the committees that are ad hoc committees to the council. I would suggest that we would structure it such that people would apply to be on this, and they would be screened, interviewed, just like we do for any other ad hoc committee, and then we would choose them based on what they represent and what they don't represent. I mean, in that we could have somebody from the hospitality hotel, somebody from a food service, somebody from another business, and then just citizens at large that aren't connected to anything, and then have them as an advisory body to the council. So I don't want anybody to think that I'm not in favor of that. I think the council generally is probably in favor of that, but you know, just because we haven't done it tonight doesn't mean we don't think it will happen.
And I had 20 seconds left, as you noted, so I have 15 seconds. Well, I want to reiterate how great I think this farmer's market idea is, and I've got a new idea for my building and storefront downtown. So I talked with the young lady, Miss Brooke, after the meeting.
Whoa,
That's it?
wait, it's so frank.
Just conceptual.
And I think, I saw something tonight, Frank, that really alleviating the roundabout and more cars. Since we're gonna have a bike path, they take less room, and I think we should use the tourism money to start buying bike racks. Okay, thank you. Thank you. And I've supported you on the bike trail since
92.
92. Okay.
1992.
Coming up, March 27th, Town Council Budget Meeting Session at 3 p.m. in the Town Hall. April 3rd, Town Council Budget Workshop, 6 p.m. Town Hall. April 10th, Town Council Budget Work Session, 3 p.m. Town Hall. April 17th, Town Council Regular Meeting at St. Charles Hall at 7 o'clock. 6 o'clock, I'm sorry. Any other things that are coming up? Okay. Do I have a motion to, yes, Ronald?
Can I make one announcement for something that's coming up? And I know that the town rents kayaks, or we have people that run them out here. We have a boating safety class specifically for kayak people that's gonna be run on April 5th at Vims in Wachapreague. It's a 3-hour course. If anybody's interested, they can contact me, or I'll give them a card or whatever.
How much?
15.
15, okay.
That includes all materials.
Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
There is.
Is there a second?
There is.
Hearing no objection, it's over.